I was nominated to stand for the elected presidency of Singapore. This is the first place I have come to since this morning's nomination. At this very spot was where I was born. My son told me just now the exact spot where I live with my 5 brothers and 5 sisters and my parents in a hut with an attic roof, mud on the floor, no modern sanitation. I and my older brother had to go to the public water tap to carry home pails of water. That is why just now I was filled with emotion. I knelt down to kiss the ground where I was born and where I grew up. Allow me to say a few words first in Teochew. Teochew was my dialect and is my dialect. This area in Upper Serangoon, you might call it Sengkang, was once upon a time referred to as Kangka by the side of the river. It was Teochew land. Most of the people who live around here were Teochew. So in Teochew, I can say, "What is Teochew nang? What is Kangka nang? What is Aokang nang?" Wa bo, kawata, Kok Song, Lu ai cho ho nang, Lu ai cho ho se. In English, my mother said to me, "Kok Song, try to be a good person. Try to do good work." So this area of Upper Serangoon, where I had the fortune of learning to be a good boy, going to be a good man, because from here I walked to my school, Montfort School, where I studied for 13 years. It was Montfort School that gave me a good education, an education which enabled me to lift my family out of poverty. From this place, I also walk to my church, the Church of Our Lady's Nativity. There, I came under the good influence of the priests and the religious brothers. They taught me how to be a trustworthy person, how to be a person of good character. So Kangka Aokang is very important to me. Because without my growing up in this place, I would not be standing in front of you hoping to be the President of Singapore. Thank you. Now I'll be happy to take some questions.
Mr. What's your favorite childhood memory?
What is my favorite childhood memory? One day, my mother went to our neighbors to try to borrow money for my school books. When she came home with tears in her eyes, she said, "Kok Song, our neighbors have got no more money to lend us." So she cried. I felt very sad. I felt so scared about our future. But that was the moment when I resolved I do not want to see my mother cry again. So I studied hard. I behaved myself. I worked hard. And as a result, I was able to lift my family out of poverty. That was my favorite childhood memory. What is now my dream? My dream is to see my mother cry again. But this time, Mom will cry not because of sadness, but because of joy. Because her son is standing to be the president of Singapore.
Mr. Ng, if there's anything you could say to your mother now, what would it be?
Thank you, Mom. You are my hero. You are my hero because you brought me up together with my 5 brothers and sisters single-handedly. We were poor, but she loved us. So, Mom, you are the hero of my life. Thank you.
So, what will be the central of your campaign messages now that you've been nominated as a presidential candidate?
My central message is to the people of Singapore, and especially to the younger generation. Singapore has a bright future ahead of us. Our best days are yet to come. Do not despair. But we must prepare ourselves. The opportunities will be there, but we have to prepare ourselves for the future in 3 ways. Self-help, government's help, the president's help. By government's help, I mean that because we have got considerable savings in our reserves, the investment returns that we generate from those savings can be used to uplift the poor, to help Singaporeans in times of difficulty. What do I mean by self-help? Well, my childhood days and my teenage years were examples of self-help. I was very lucky to go to school, to have a good education, but I had to study hard. I was lucky to be able to get a good job. I worked hard. And I was very fortunate that at a very young age, I learned certain life skills, such as the life skill of having self-confidence. Although we were poor, but we were self-confident. And I learned that in school when my teachers taught me how to do public speaking. Otherwise, I won't be able to stand before you here and make a speech like this. This is self-help. And then other forms of self-help, financial literacy. Learn to save money. Because when you learn to save money, you are helping your own financial future. For many years after I started working, I had no savings because all my money had to go to support my family. But as soon as I was able to save some money, I saved a little bit every month. And slowly I accumulated enough savings. That is called self-help. Another area of self-help is how do we have emotional resilience? How do we overcome stress? So I learned when I was young about prayer, the value of prayer. Now, meditation is my way of prayer. So prayer can help us to deal with stress. So these are the three areas which I call self-help. But these are also the three areas that when I become president, I want to lend a helping hand. Number one, I want to be a meditating president so that I can encourage the people of Singapore, especially the younger generations, to learn meditation. I want to help young people to develop self-confidence, encourage them to learn how to express themselves. And then finally, I want to help young people have financial literacy, how to save money and how to invest the money properly. So that's my message to the people of Singapore. We work together, self-help, government's help, the president's help.
Just now you mentioned to your supporters that you may be outnumbered in numbers, but you will not be outnumbered in heart and in terms of spirits. So could you help us elaborate a little bit more on how do you make sure that your heart and spirits and your campaign strategy going forward now that there's 9 days left towards polling date?
I'm not a government-endorsed candidate. That makes me an underdog. And that's why people say, how do you rate your chances? The implication is, I have either no chance or little chance. You look at the nomination center today. How many buses brought the supporters of the other candidate? How outnumbered we were. When I spoke, I was booed. That is the meaning of being an underdog. That is the meaning of being underrated. So how do I overcome that? I overcome that by speaking from my heart and by speaking to the hearts of Singaporeans. That is why I have come here this afternoon, to show you all where I grew up. And to show you that, yes, life has its challenges. Sometimes we face certain disadvantages, but we must not despair. We can pick ourselves up and we can overcome those disadvantages. That is what I mean by winning from the heart.
And, would you be holding any physical rallies going ahead?
A physical rally is not necessary. Today, in these modern times, with social media, I can reach thousands, millions of Singaporeans, especially the younger generation, at home, at their computer, in their mobile phone. I don't need a physical rally to do that when there's a lot of shouting, maybe some booing. I want to reach Singaporeans in their times of silence, when they are looking at the phone. I can reach them. And that is what is going to help me in this campaign to overcome my disadvantage of not being a government-endorsed candidate.
Mr. Ang, you've mentioned several times about reaching younger Singaporeans and helping younger Singaporeans. Are they a target group that you're looking to reach out to specifically, or are there any groups that you will want to approach with your campaign?
There's one particular group of younger Singaporeans that I want to reach. And these are younger Singaporeans who feel that the future is not good for them. They feel that there will be a lack of opportunities for them to rise out of poverty like I did. So I want to tell them, do not despair. Singapore is in a good position. We will continue to grow our economy. But you must do something. You must equip yourself with the skills, you must study hard, so that you're able to take advantage of these opportunities. So my message to them is, do not despair, do not give up.
Mr. Wu, will you be holding virtual rally, or you will just reach them through your Facebook, social media posts?
Will I be holding a virtual rally? Well, nowadays the word rally can mean different things. You can have a physical rally, such as we used to have in Fullerton Square. But now there's a new definition of rally. Jalan Besar Stadium is supposed to be a rally. And then, you can have a town hall. So I intend to hold, you might say, an online seminar. An online seminar where people can tune in and can ask me any question. So that is what I intend to do.
Mr. Wu, what do you think about Mr. Tan Kim Lian's pretty girl social media post incident?
What was the particular?
Mr. Tan Kim Lian's pretty girl social media post incident. Can you comment about this?
Critical. Pretty girl. I do not want to criticize Mr. Tan. Because I want to win this election by my merits, not to point out other people's faults. But I think we must, if we want to stand for the president, we must respect people. Respect people of all generations, of all gender. So I hope to be able to honor that, to do that, and to conduct my election campaign in a gentlemanly way, in a respectful way.
Mr. An, will you consider going to Ge Tais to interact with the older residents?
Yes. When I grew up here in Kangkar, during the 7th month,
Yes.
I enjoyed those occasions where there was, the Teochew Opera, and the whole village come together. It was like a celebration, it lasting for a few days. I still remember that those were the moments where there was a lot of excitement, a lot of activity in our village. I will be very comfortable going to such events.
Will you consider to sing a song on the stage if you're going to Ge Tai?
Or to take questions on
I-
stage?
I don't think you'd like to hear me sing, but I will try. I will try if you do not I will try. I like to. Singing and dancing were the two life skills that I didn't have the time to learn. But it's never too late.
Pastor, I'm sorry, just now you mentioned about being booed and being an underdog this morning. Were you expecting that level of response from the public? Or was it like overwhelming for you this morning?
Was the booing overwhelming for me?
Do you expect that kind of reception?
The people who were there booing and shouting, they are what I call the vocal minority. The silent majority were at home. It is the silent majority that matters to me, not the loud minority.
And besides like taking on the virtual rallies and possibly going to Ge Tai, are there any other campaign strategy that you will be focusing on in the next few days?
The other strategy is I would like the people of Singapore to know more about my fiancée, Sybil. From the very beginning, Sybil and I knew it would be a challenge. But we are making good progress by us coming out to tell our story, the true story. And Sybil did that in an interview yesterday with Mothership. I hope you will all have the opportunity to watch that video. That is Sybil. So we ask the people of Singapore, do not make prejudgments. Do not make harsh judgments. Watch her on the video.
We've been focusing quite extensively on reaching out to the younger audience. Are there any other groups of people of Singaporeans that you are looking to reach out to as well?
Yes. I think there are many types of people in our society who I would call vulnerable people. This could be elderly people, people who need desperately care and attention. There are also people with extremely low income. And that is why the person who seconded my candidature this morning was Dr. Carol Tan. She's here. Dr. Carol Tan. She's a geriatrician. She works in the healthcare sector for many years. She is a social worker. I first met Dr. Carol Tan when Sybil's mother was dying in hospital. Dr. Carol Tan not only looked after Sybil's mother, she accompanied us every day because she knows what it's like to be dying. Because she has seen so many patients. She knows what it's like to care for your loved one when they are dying. So she was with us. And at the last moments, in the intensive care unit, Carol was with us, with Sybil and me, as we stood by Sybil's mother's side and wished her goodbye. So Dr. Carol Tan is the kind of doctor, the kind of person that Singapore needs more and more, because she works to champion those who are vulnerable. Vulnerable means to be in need. But more importantly, she not only cares for them in a very practical way, she upholds the dignity of those who are vulnerable. So that is another area that Sybil and I, with the help of Carol, we would like to do more if I become president. Okay?
Can I just check with you, when you mentioned the young, what is the age group that you are referring to, and if they have actually reached the voters' age already?
In this presidential election, there's quite a large percentage, I do not know the exact number, probably 15% of first-time voters. Because the last presidential election, when there was an election, was 2011. So 12 years have passed. A new generation of Singaporeans are voting for the first time. But what I have found in the last few weeks, when I went to social media and I tried to explain the reserves of Singapore, I tried to explain my work at the GIC, there were many Singaporeans, teenagers, who are not of voting age yet, who send me messages and say, "Thank you, Kok Song. Thank you, Mr. Ng, for helping us to understand more and more about the presidency." So I'm reaching out not only to the voters who are of the voting age, but also even the younger Singaporeans.
And will that actually give you a disadvantage, because if you're not reaching out to the voters' age, but rather the younger generations that are maybe less than 21 or 18, and how do you make sure that you garner the necessary support to
Would that be a disadvantage for me? We should not be selfish. We should not be selfish. In other words, reach out to only those who can vote. No. I want to appeal to all Singaporeans, regardless of whether you are voters or not voters. And I also want to reach out to those who are foreigners in Singapore, to let them know how lucky they are to be living in Singapore. To let them know how exceptional our country is. Because we also need the confidence of foreigners to help to grow our economy. So my message is not targeted at just voters. You might say my message is universal. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have to go to another.
Mr. Ng, may I ask how young were you in regards to the childhood memory you shared with us just now?
Well, I was born at this very place, all right? Then I was baptized as a Catholic at the age of 7. At the age of 7. So I went to school when I was 6 years old. I was very lucky I got to go into school 1 year earlier because there was a sudden vacancy. So I studied for 13 years at Montfort from the time I was 6 to the time when I was 18. And that specific moment that I shared with you about my mother was when I was 12 years old.